Hi, I'm Betty Banjack, and welcome back to Look Who's Cooking. Today I have a very special guest. It's Joe Hoeffel, and Joe represents many of us in Washington. And he's here today, and he's going to cook one of his very favorite things, or that's what he tells me. It's one of his very favorite things. He eats it a lot for lunch. So we're not going to take any more time up just talking. We're going to go to Joe and see what he's going to make for us.
Betty, how are you?
Fine. It's nice to see
Good.
you
It's
again.
great to be on the show. Thanks for inviting me. I thought I would cook some congressional bean soup.
Ah.
This is something that is a specialty in the Capitol dining rooms. I have it 2 or 3 times a week when I have lunch in the Capitol dining room.
Bean soup. We're not talking about anything windy or.
No, none of that. But this is something that has been on the menu every day of the House dining room since 1904. When Speaker Joe Cannon came in for lunch one day, had his heart set or his mouth set on bean soup, and it was a hot summer day, and they didn't have it on the menu. And he threw a fit, and he said, from now on, every day I want bean soup on the menu. And since 1904, every day, they make bean soup. And this is a famous guy because they named a House office building after Speaker Cannon. And he's also responsible for the daily bean soup.
Oh, wow. That's pretty interesting. He sort of like decreed bean soup?
He did.
Okay.
And it's been there and it's delicious.
Okay, we want to get started?
Sure.
How about if I turn the burner on for you?
That's a good start. All right. The first thing you'd want to do, Betty, is get 2 pounds of good beans, navy beans. Michigan beans, I'm told, also works well. You need to soak these overnight and then drain them.
Okay.
And then throw them into the pot for starters. So that's what we'll do.
Now, these weren't soaked overnight, but you must do that.
You'd want to do that. It makes it much more edible, and if you don't do that, I think you'd find a pretty tough going through the soup. You then add the ham bone or smoked shank or whatever your preference is.
It's pork.
It's pork, which is probably a fitting thing for us to have on the show here. Also ham bone. I understand that would go well with your skills. Just a bad joke. And then
Joe and I go back a long way, so we can say those things to each other.
Then we have to add the water.
How much water do you have there?
This is about 3 quarts.
Ooh.
Probably would be better if I took the top off.
Emily, do you know how to take this? Oh, he got it.
There we go.
That's why he's in Washington, right?
Absolutely.
We're going to take that off?
Yeah, I think
that'll
will
take
do
it off.
Oh, there we go. Now, you'd want to bring that water to a boil and then and stirring occasionally. And then once it's boiling, turn the heat down to simmer and cover it and cook that for 2 hours.
2 hours. Are we going to? Am I have to stay in here for 2 hours?
Well, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, what we'll do is we'll put the soup together, and we'll cook it up later, and then we'll show you the soup that Joe brought with him.
Right. We brought the finished product, so
Thing.
you can see what happens at the end of the process.
It takes a while because the beans is what makes it. Okay. So
let's say this has been cooking now at a
2
simmer
hours.
for 2 hours.
Okay.
You would then add the vegetables.
Okay.
Because we've got another hour of cooking to go.
Okay.
So the first thing you'd want to add are the chopped up onions.
You have to open.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Look at that.
Joe can cook, but he
high tech.
can't do the little
It's the little things in life that throw me for a loop. So you'd add the onions, and this is 3 onions.
Okay.
There we go. Add those
I'll
in
do
there.
the stirring.
Great.
You know, it's different when you work at home and you put everything in a dish when you do it. Like I said before, here at the high school, we don't really have a kitchen. We just have one that we make up as we go every week and what we need, so it's a little harder.
I think it works pretty well, Betty.
Okay.
Now, celery. Quite a bit of celery. There we go.
Whoops.
Now you got to make a little bit of a mess.
No, I'm not worried about that. I don't want to waste it.
Then you've got some chopped up parsley here. You want to save some of this to sprinkle on the finished product when you ladle it out in the bowls. But we're going to put maybe...
Parsley is one of my favorite things. Have you ever tasted parsley on its own? Oh, I thought you were going to bam that.
Oh, well, that's coming next.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Oh,
And you
this
save
looks
some
gorgeous.
of the parsley. And then the final
It's a little
ingredient.
hard to show you, but it does look gorgeous.
The final ingredient is the garlic.
Ah, is that
Now
the secret?
this is the secret ingredient. And you better stand back because this is where you have to go,
Okay.
BAM!
Ah, Jay, that was really good. You taking lessons?
You have that glass of wine here, ready? BAM! And you put the rest in.
You only bam twice.
Bam twice, that should do it. There we go. All right. And you stir that up and then let that simmer for another hour.
Okay.
And at the end of that hour, you'd want to check to make sure that the beans are tender. That's obviously necessary, but after 3 hours of cooking, that shouldn't be any difficulty. And the ham bone or whatever smoked shank, whatever you've put in there, is going to be very tender at that point. You would want to take that out and carve off the meat. It'll probably just fall right off. And then chop that meat up into small, dice that meat and put the meat back in the soup, but of course take the bone out at that point.
The other thing with that is the fat on this type of cut of meat helps flavor the soup
You
too.
bet it does.
You could make it with ham, plain ham.
Sure you could.
But it wouldn't be as tasty.
Yep. Yep.
If you make it with plain ham, I'd brown the ham first to give it like some flavor. But this is the piece of meat to use. I know today people aren't quite into using pork fat and things like that. They're all being careful, but there's some things you need, and
Right.
this is what you need in this kind of soup. So this is going to cook again for another hour?
Another hour. And then at the end of that hour, you take the bone out, dice up the meat that's left on the bone, put the meat back in, and then you're ready to roll.
Do you cook it anymore?
You don't have to.
Okay.
But obviously, if you want to store that, refrigerate it, you can. You can reheat it when you're ready to serve. It's going to be a hearty, thick soup, great for a winter's day. And
Does this freeze at all? Or you don't know because you eat it down in Washington?
That's right, I don't know.
You
But
don't.
I bet it does. I bet it
Yeah.
does.
Because it's that nice beans and all. But it's really a good soup. So why don't we take this off and we have a finished product.
Okay, here's the finished product. Bean soup.
Ooh,
Doesn't that look good?
can you smell that? Oh, it's wonderful.
Absolutely. Now they say this is the kind of soup that you want to serve right at the table. You want to bring your pot or right over to the table and warm up your bowls if you can ahead of time, and ladle this soup out right on the spot. It's a great hearty soup, almost a meal in itself.
Oh, it is a meal because what I'm going to make to go with that will definitely make it a meal. But I have a suggestion. We want to warm our bowls and we don't have anything. Let's put the lid back on and put that aside for a second. And I'm going to take 2 soup bowls that I have here and we'll put them on top of this.
Okay.
And they'll warm up while we're going through the bread.
Great idea.
So let me just clean this up a little bit. We don't quite have the cleanup crew. Some of the better known shows have. Maybe someday we'll have one. Keep saying that. And what I'm going to make, I need that bowl, Jim.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to make a complimentary bread. I'm very big on breads, and I'm very big on batter breads. Because batter breads you make, you put it in the pan and you bake it. It's no rising and beating it up.
Right.
I guess I don't have as many aggressions as some people that bake a lot of bread and beat on it all the time. So this batter bread is going to be very complimentary to this kind of soup. It's called a beer bread. It's very hearty. It's very it's heavy. And so I'm going to get started. It's really easy. It's the easiest thing that you can make. And in making it with the beer and all, the beer disappears in the baking somewhat. There's always traces left, but you find that in vanilla. Vanilla's made with alcohol, so that kind of thing. But most of the alcohol will disappear in the baking of the bread. First I take 3 cups of whole wheat flour. And usually you use other flours in with whole wheat because it's not real strong. But in this particular bread, you can use just the whole wheat flour. And I'm going to stick this in the bowl. I'm going to talk about this paddle. See this paddle? I like to work with shorthand. This is from Japan, actually. Somebody brought it for me. I like to work with short handles in most cases. The spoon
gives you a better feel.
It's a better leverage. You know, if I was going to mix this with the spoon, I'd be mixing up here.
Right.
I'll give that. If I'm going to mix with this, the lower thing, and you can get these anywhere. They're things. Then you're down in there, and you really have better pull and better leverage. Actually, you can always cut that down if you really wanted to. You need the size of the spoon, the bed of the spoon, but you don't need the length in most cases. Whoa. So we have here the 3 cups of flour, and that I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, and I'm going to mix those together. And then 2 tablespoons of honey. Between the honey and the baking powder and the beer, that's the leavening thing. You take 2 tablespoons. I always guesstimate with honey. Honey's hard to, if you pour honey into a little bowl and then you lose half of it. So I'm guessing that is 1 tablespoon.
Looks like it to me.
Yeah, okay. And this makes 2 tablespoons. I do use exact measurement in most cases, except when I find it's a little easier to do it this way.
Tastes better sometimes when you don't measure it exactly.
Yeah. So then what do we have next? Oh, a 12-ounce can of beer that I opened up a couple hours before I'm going to use it, and you let it just go a little flat. Because if you pour it in fresh, it foams up on you. So we just add this in.
You don't have to use all that, do you?
Yeah.
No.
12 ounces. It's a can. Saturday, I'm running around, not being a beer drinker, I don't even know where to get beer. So I'm running around trying to find it. But all of the alcohol in this, when you bake it, will go, except for a little trace here and there, and not enough to do anything. So you mix it together, but we're not going to mix this. We're just going to make sure the whole recipe is wet. We're not going to beat it or take the lumps out, because that's the character of the bread. And sometimes it works in real fast. My hand's getting more flour today than anything. And sometimes it just takes a little longer. I'm going to stick my hands in it. It's what most people do when they make bread.
Absolutely.
Here we go. It's coming together now. Just make sure everything is covered. Okay, then I'm going to take a foil throwaway pan. You'll find out that I'm the queen of foil pans. I use them as much as I can because they are disposable and they're just easier to clean up. And I'm going to spray that with some shortening. And what I've learned recently is you spray it, it doesn't always get to be even. So I take a piece of paper towel and I just smear it all around to make sure it's all over, because there's nothing worse than putting the cake in the pan, or the bread, and then when you pull it out, big hunk sticks there because it's not been oiled properly. So get rid of this. I mix a little more because it's not. I've known Joe a long time. I think 1985 we campaigned together.
That's right. It's been a long time, Betty. I had no idea you were such a good cook.
Oh, well, thank you. Actually, it was my one and only attempt at politics. Then I became civic instead of.
Well, you've done a lot since, I know, for the library and Lots of other good causes.
Yeah, I work at the library. I don't know if many of our viewers know that. But over the next coming weeks, you'll know about it because I talk about it all the time. Okay, that's good. We have our pan oiled. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. Again, we had to haul everything in. I have to, my guests do, and all. They've all been very good about it. And then what we're going to do is just take that. See, some of it doesn't look real covered, but that's okay. It will cover itself. Put it in the pan. This is a standard loaf pan. And, yeah, we're going to get it in there. And just push it into the corners and work it out. This has no sugar in it. And so, you know, I always think it's funny. People say, I really like this cake. It's not sweet. Then why are you eating cake? Eat something else. But see, it fits in there nice. Just pat it down, make it nice. If you really want to make a nice smooth top, what you should do is wet your hand and rub it down over that. I'm going to put this aside, and we're going to bake that a little later. And then the crew here, I know that they agreed to be the crew if they could get to eat all the byproducts of the show. So we've done pretty well. We've had chocolate, and we had Dr. McKnight, who's the principal here. He made jambalaya. So we've been.
I heard about that.
Yeah. I heard everyone smelled it for a day and a half. Yeah, thing. So here we have our finished product in the pan, and what I'm going to do is turn it out. This is still a little warm. And this is what you come up with.
Oh, that
Voila.
great. Yeah.
Now you see, it's not a perfect textured thing. This is the shape of South Carolina. It came, friends of mine that live in South Carolina sent me that board, so I thought I would use it. And that'll be wonderful with the soup.
Absolutely will be.
So let's see, what else do we have here? The dishes, they're getting a little warm. They're not as warm as they should be, but we'll switch dishes. I'm sure the bottom one's warmer than the top one. And now you're going to put that parsley in when it's finished cooking.
Well, you can put that right on the soup when it's in the dish, just as a little bit of garnish.
Are you going to tell us how much this costs in the
how much it costs
cafeteria,
to buy
the
it
lunch
down
and
there?
the dinner? Or, yeah.
Oh, it's about $1.50.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they'd get you good.
No.
Because you had nowhere else to go,
Yeah,
right?
well, that's true. But they do a great job every day. It's
Every
on the
day.
menu.
That's wonderful. That really is. Let's look at the soup.
You need to give it a little stir here. Okay, it is looking very good. Now, there is one ingredient you can add, Betty, if you want it thicker than this, and that is some instant potato, or actually mashed potatoes. About a cup of mashed potatoes, or about a third of a cup of the flakes of the instant, and that will give it even more body.
Oh, that smells wonderful. I like pork. My father, when I was growing up, my father worked in a pork slaughtering house, so we always had pork. Pork's my first meat. You know, everyone says, it's white meat and all that. It's my first meat. I like pork. And if I go out to eat anywhere new, I always look at the pork dishes first.
Well, congressmen are accused of liking pork also, but I prefer mine in the soup.
Oh, okay.
Get it?
I got it. Well, why don't we dish some up?
Okay.
I think there's a ladle over
there sure
there.
Is.
And
do you want to do the honors?
Oh, sure. Well, wait. Leave it go a minute.
Okay.
Let's cut the bread. Now you can cut it thicker. You can cut this bread. You can really control. You can cut it thinner, thicker, however you like it. If you wanted to make a sandwich with it, with ham, another pork.
Yep, that would be good.
And mustard. You can cut it very thin. You can cut it quite thick. There's another way. I know people that like bread in their soup. I guess it's almost like the potato thing.
Oh, really?
They put, we don't have to have it that way, but let me just show you. They would put the slice of bread right in there and then put the soup on top.
Yeah. that would work with this.
Yes, this would, because it complement each other,
Yep.
and it's heavy enough. And this is just a nice bread. You'll find out in the coming weeks. I like to make breads a lot, but I like this is the way to make it, because you don't have to any rising time and things like that. And it's just wonderful. The first show we did, I made a bread similar to this, but it wasn't beer bread, and it had a lot more stuff in it. This is the simplest thing. You have everything on your kitchen or your pantry shelf except maybe the beer, if you don't drink. So, but it's well worth it. You won't know that it has any alcohol in it, because it doesn't. By the time we get to eat it, there's no alcohol at all. Okay, now we're going to ladle up. I even have spoons.
All right.
So we can taste. You're going to have to, you won't be down in Washington today, so you won't have lunch. Right?
No, this will.
This is your lunch,
yeah.
huh? You want to put some parsley on there?
Sure. You can really garnish this with anything if you'd like, but parsley certainly always looks good. So you can sprinkle a little bit of that around.
You're very artistic.
Oh, yeah.
So are we able to get this at all, or can anyone? I guess we're having.
Can you tilt it?
I can't tilt it
Not too
anymore.
much.
It'll be all over the floor, everybody. Here, we'll give you that.
Okay.
So you can have your daily ration.
All right, very good. Would you like some parsley on yours?
Yes, I love parsley. And you notice how much pork I gave myself.
All right. We'll add some of that. There we go.
And then we have the bread. And I want to taste this.
Yeah, I do too.
Whoops.
Mmm.
Not bad, Joe.
Not
You
bad
can come
at
to
all.
my house and cook anytime,
Boy. Thanks. This is good.
Oh, did we forget to mention salt and pepper to taste?
You sure can do that.
Now, some people by diet don't have salt anymore, so they don't want to. But it's something we wanted to mention. You can put salt and pepper in there, and we didn't do that today. So, well, listen, I want to thank you for taking time from your really very busy schedule.
It's a pleasure, Betty.
And maybe you'll come back later on and make us another dish from another. Or they have other dishes that they're famous for, or they're known
This is the most famous.
This is the most famous. This is the one that must be. It's been decreed.
That's right, every day.
Okay. Well, listen, we're really glad you could come visit us today, and come back soon and look who's cooking.